There you go. If you don't want your lovely faces to show on the recording, you can just stop your own video. We put those up. If you are talking to anybody about one of our great programs, we put those up on our website. And so you can go back and look at programs that happened earlier last year and this year. And, please spread the word, because one of the most important things that we can do right now is make sure that everyone knows about the candidates that are running for office. And we have a bunch of candidates here today, and we will meet them shortly. We also have some city council members that I want to welcome, Holly Plug and Kathy Kinsella. And I don't know if Sandy and Scott Javelo. Thanks, Scott, for waving at me. I can only see one screen at a time. And JT or John Thompson. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for your willingness to run for office and serve in office. You're the ones that keep our democracy alive, in addition with us, all of us helping you out. So welcome this morning. I did want to mention to start the meeting that I want to recognize that we are on tribal lands, and we owe a debt of gratitude to the tribal communities that were here long before we were. And I just want to recognize that to begin our meeting. We are in the season where these candidates that are running for office now need to get signatures. And I'll talk about in a second, we have some clean candidates that are running clean, which I'll explain in a second, which is, I don't know, that's probably not unique to Arizona, but it's pretty cool that we have the ability to run clean elections in Arizona. And so one of the things you can do to support all of these candidates is to make sure that you sign their petitions. There are two ways to do that. So if Shelley or somebody else could put in the chat the website, you can go on to the Arizona Secretary of State's website, and you can electronically sign almost everyone's petitions that you will be eligible to vote for in the primary online. Now, that includes Tom O'Halloran. And the reason it includes Tom O'Halloran is our districts have changed due to redistricting. Our congressional district, let me start with that, is now Congressional District 2. So we have a different number, but because we are in the same congressional district that Tom O'Halloran is in, which was true before, we can go online and we can sign his petitions. So please do that. Go online and sign Tom's petition. If you'd rather do that at the office, we have all the petitions available at the office, and you can go into the office and sign petitions. Our office is open currently 3 days a week on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 11 to 3. So when you go onto the Secretary of State's website, you do have to have either your driver's license or your voter registration card. Either one will work. And you need to put that in first before you're allowed to sign any petitions. It's so that they can verify that you are a voter within that district. So it's a very simple process. You do have to go in and put that information in. You can either do that or go to the office. You can also make contributions to the candidates' campaigns if you choose to do that online. That's another way you can do it. Now, because we had redistricting, we are now in Legislative District 1. Legislative District 1 is very different than Legislative District 6 was. And so our candidates are not actually on the Arizona Secretary of State's website for us to sign their petitions. That's why we're having them here today, so you can learn about them. And it's really important. They need you to sign a paper document that says that, that will help them get enough signatures to be on the ballot. You'll learn a little later that Kathy Ransom, one of our candidates, is going to be at the DORR office today. You probably saw it in the emails, from 12 to 3. Please make an effort to go and sign the petitions of all three of these candidates. We have Kathy Ransom and Neil Sinclair. They are running for the Arizona House of Representatives. And we have Mike Fogel, and he is running for the Arizona Senate. They all need our signatures. If you can't make it today, you can again go on any other office day, go Saturday or Tuesday or Thursday, try to get in there before the end of March. They want to make sure that they have all of their candidate signatures by March 20th to make sure that they can get them in as they need to. If they have paper ones, they have to go through the process to get those to the Secretary of State. So please help them out. It's great that these 3 candidates are running, and I'm really excited to hear from them this morning. They do need one other thing though. They have chosen to run clean. And what that means is that they will take no donations from corporations or businesses, even very limited donations from individuals. So they need support from the state fund to run their campaigns. They do not qualify for that public support unless they get 200 plus. They're looking for 240 $5 donations. That's all it takes is $5. And those are qualifying donations. I guess it kind of shows that enough people want them to run for office that they can run clean and get those funds from the state to help them run their campaigns. So when you go into the DORR office, don't only sign their petitions, but also donate that $5 per candidate, so $15 to help them get on the ballot. So I think that's the most important piece of information that I want to give you this morning, is to make sure that you do that.
Kathy, what are the hours for today that they'll be there?
Kathy Ransom is on this program. So for today, you go after 12 to 3. She'll be there the whole rest of the time that the office is open today. It's beginning at 12. Thanks, Scott, for that question. We have a couple of other programs that I want to highlight. Frankie's not here, so I just want to say that we do have a film club, and they watch every month. They watch a film available streaming on their TV and have great discussions. Somehow, that's my husband going back and forth. Somehow those films are, there he is, Dennis Dumpy, good volunteer, you know, kind of required. They had pick films that are interesting, that are connected to what is happening in our time, one way or the other. And I know they have fabulous discussions. So look for that on email, or it's also on our website. I want to thank Ellen Ferreira. She is our program chair for Democrats of the Red Rocks, and she puts on these wonderful programs. And I'm sure she will tell us about what the program will be for next month also. And so, are there any other announcements from the board before we move to Ellen?
Want me to say something about request to speak again?
Yeah, that'd be great, Toby. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just put in the chat, join us, request to speak. You may have been hearing about some bills. You may have been getting emails to call if you're not signed up for request to speak. And if you'd like to join us, it's really easy. Just email me and I'll send you a link. You reply to the link and somebody walks your information over to the Capitol. They sign you up for request to speak, and that's it. And then you get a great video from me, and it'll show you how easy it is to go on. And pretty soon you'll be able to, you hear about all those horrible voting bills and LGBT education, you'll be able to put all of those in and say that you support them or you don't support them when they come up. So if you're interested, again, it's in the link, and just contact me and I'll get you started. Thanks, Kathy.
Kathy, one more thing about that, Toby, don't go away. If you're concerned and uncomfortable with using an automated system, you can still email or call representatives. And just this past week, there was a bill that was really important to Sedona, House Bill 2711, that passed out of committee on Monday, 10-1, on short-term rentals. We got an action notice out. Thank you all who did contact their legislators. But in the request to speak system, there were over 300 supporters and only 25 in opposition. The sponsor of the bill, Brenda Barton, was really impressed with our ability to get out the troops, and it made a difference in that legislation. And there's more bills coming up on short-term rentals, because that's very near and dear to our hearts. besides all the other really important issues. So please get on Toby's mailing list so you can get all this information. Thank you.
Thanks. So I had a chance to look at the chat. I can definitely only do one thing at a time. Multitasking doesn't work for my brain anymore, if it ever did. A couple of things. Somebody said they're confused about when these new districts go into effect. So basically what exists is our representatives right now are the representatives at our state legislature that we elected 2 years ago. And they, they're probably familiar names to you: Wendy Rogers, Brenda Barton, and Walt Blackman. So those are our current representatives. Brenda Barton is actually the one that put forward the bill that Holly was talking about. So yay, go Brenda, that was great. But the people that we are going to vote for in November, those will be the people for our new district. So Legislative District 1 and Congressional District 2. So I hope that that clears that up. The other thing that I forgot to mention is that we have great plans for this election year because, as always, our job is to get Democrats elected to office. And the best way that we can do that is to make sure that we have an excellent voter turnout. And that takes a lot of work. It takes some money, because I'm sure we will be sending out mailers to people about the candidates. We're going to be doing a lot of door knocking because it's safer out there than it was 2 years ago. And we do need money to support those efforts, including having an office, which is really valuable. So we have a new program now, and it is called Friends of DORR. And what it is it's a program that you can sign up for to make a monthly donation to help support our work, so that we know we have sustaining financial support going forward. You can make a donation as little as $10 a month, or it could be $25 a month, what fits your budget. So please go onto our website and look for Friends of DORR. It is also at the bottom of every single email you get, and we really appreciate your ongoing support. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over now to Ellen, and Shelley, if you can spotlight Ellen to start the program.
The sun is already spotlighting me quite a bit, and my shade is down too. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. In the next few months, we're going to hear from lots of wonderful Democratic candidates. And we're starting that. We started actually last month with Katie Hobbs and Aaron Lieberman. And today we've got another full agenda. And I'm pleased to see that Pete Furman and Brian Foltz, both city council candidates, are here on the call too. They will be speaking to us at the April breakfast. The March breakfast will be Tom O'Halloran and why am I having a blank? Chris Mays, who is running for Attorney General, Adrian Fontes and Reginald Boulding, who are both seeking the Secretary of State office. So March proves to be a full and good event as well. Today, we will be hearing from Marco Lopez, who is also seeking the Democratic nomination for governor. He is not on the call yet, so we're going to start with the three candidates for LD6. Kathy Ransom, who is a resident of Cottonwood, Mike Fogel, who lives in Chino Valley, and Neil Sinclair, who is in Prescott. So we've got some representation from all around LD1, what will soon be LD1. And you said earlier, Kathy, that Brenda Barton was so impressed by all the troops that we brought out to vote in favor of 2711. And we got so many people on request to speak and calling and emailing our legislators. Brenda Barton's going to be quite surprised when she sees that entire machine turned against her this fall, when we all come out for the LD1 clean slate for democracy. So I'm looking forward to that.
Ellen, Marco just jumped on.
Oh, he did.
Marco Lopez is here now. Yeah, I just want to let you know.
Okay, I do not see Marco on my thing, but okay. Oh, we have two screens full. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, great. So first on our agenda, we will hear from Marco Lopez. As I said, Democrat, he's seeking the Democratic nomination for governor of Arizona. We're looking forward to hearing from you, Marco.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you join us. We appreciate this very much. So welcome. And I won't do much of an introduction because I know that you will. The point of you being here is to introduce yourself to us so that we can get to know you a little better. So welcome to DORR.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. You want me to just jump right in now? Ready?
Sure, might as well.
Excellent. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. It's so nice to be here. I'm from Southern Arizona. I grew up in Nogales, the city where my parents immigrated to almost 50 years ago, always with the belief and the understanding that Arizona was a place that if you worked hard, got a good education, treated others with respect, this was a place that you could get ahead. Always insisting that me and my sisters worked and got good grades in school. Was a first in our generation to go on to the University of Arizona. And after I graduated, I went back to Nogales where I ran for mayor, was elected the youngest mayor in the country when I was 22 years old. That's where I met Janet Napolitano. Janet was thinking about running for governor. She asked that I help coordinate Southern Arizona for her. I did that. And after she won, she asked me to join her administration, worked my way up to be the director of the Department of Commerce for the state. In 2009, President Obama named me chief of staff at Customs and Border Protection, which is the largest law enforcement and trade agency in the country. I oversaw over 60,000 men and women deployed throughout the world, making sure that our country borders were safe, air, land, and sea, and a budget of $13 billion. After 10 years in government, though, I decided that it was time to join the private sector. The first project that I undertook is called Connect to Compete, where today we've connected 1 million homes in the US. 30,000 of those homes are here in the state of Arizona. These are homes where a child is in the free and reduced lunch program. They get broadband at home for $10 a month. Back in 2012, when we launched it, many people were telling us that it was a luxury to have broadband at home, all while we were watching kids drive up to Starbucks or McDonald's parking lots so that they can get Wi-Fi so they can do their evening homework. And so post-pandemic, we see the great need with that. Out in Mesa, Skybridge, Arizona, the founder of that project, we're on track to create 15,000 jobs there. This is the only inland air logistics hub. It's processing goods that are headed into Latin America right here in Mesa. I launched my campaign in March 16th of last year, understanding that if we are going to grow smart in Arizona, we have to invest in our education system. We're 49th in the country. We have to close our healthcare gap. Today in Arizona, over 11% of the population doesn't have access to affordable quality healthcare. That's 822,000 Arizonans. And finally, jobs. If we're going to compete regionally, we have to build the infrastructure and the job base that will help us compete for high quality, good jobs in this state. That's why I'm running for governor, to restore that promise that regardless of where you live, where you come from, who you are, this is still the state that people believe everyone has an equal shot to succeed. So with that, it's a little bit about me, and I'm welcome and enjoy answering any questions this morning.
If you want to just ask Marco, I don't think we don't have that many people here. You can just speak up or raise your hand on the screen. I see Joanna Mendoza.
Yeah, Mark,
Hi, Joanna.
Hi, Marco. Good morning. Thank you so much for
morning.
joining us this morning. My question for you is, can you give me some insight as to your priorities for veterans and military families in Arizona? I am a 20-year Marine Corps veteran, came back to Arizona, had a really difficult time getting a job, even though I had just these, immense amount of skill set, or just an immense amount of skills, and was told that I wasn't qualified for a lot of positions here in Arizona. So I struggled to get a job, even though I had 20 years of management, administrative leadership experience. So what is your priority for veterans? There's a lot of veterans in Arizona. I'm just curious as to what you're looking to do for veterans in Arizona.
Thank you, Joanna. Not only is the veteran population growing and we want it to thrive in Arizona, but we've got to make sure that we are thinking about how the state does its procurement and that we are thinking about small veteran-owned businesses so that Arizona is a place where, as we're thinking of prioritizing our spending as a state budget, that we are giving special attention to those contractors and vendors and service providers of the state through veteran preference. So aside from that, through our Department of Administration, Joanna, I think that as we look at reskilling our workforce to attract jobs in the areas of hospitality, technology, and healthcare, three of the areas that we know we are deficient in, but that we also know are going to be growing in the next 10, 15 years. I think those opportunities within the Arizona Department of Commerce, the Commerce Authority, ACA, are areas that we have to be cognizant of. I have not heard specifically this need. I've now heard it. And so as I focus on specific jobs that veterans are qualified to take in our state and that our economy needs, I will take that back to our economic development team. I've met with veterans groups here in the Valley, but and the issue was small businesses. Your issue is unique in that regard, that it is people with the skills, getting them into the workforce with those capacities and the skills that you've developed serving our country. So I'm taking that back, Joanna, to see specifically how we can be helpful from a state perspective.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
What is your
Thank you for your
stand on
question.
climate?
Yeah, so climate is near and dear to my heart. I'm on the board of the Nature Conservancy, and this is an area that we've been working on for the last, well, for many years, but I've been working on with TNC for the last 3 years. And I really do think about this, not only from the water, but from air quality perspective as well. On the waterfront in Northern Arizona, we have an overgrown forest that causes problems with our snow melt and the water runoff into our aquifers, into our streams and lakes. So we've got to push the federal government to work with us in thinning that forest, because the opposite problem is during the summer months, our wildfire season is a huge problem. Whereas instead of a healthy burn of a couple thousand acres, we are experiencing 250, 300,000 acres burn when those wildfires get out of control. And so it's not acceptable, and it has both impacts of water and air quality. And so we have to have the leadership, not since the 80s, when Governor Babbitt brought all of the players, industry, communities, developers, Native American communities, tribal entities responsible for water rights along the Colorado River. That's the leadership that we're bringing, that I'm going to bring to this discussion. I've been working with ASU, the Intertribal Council, CRIT, CAP, and SRP since before I began my campaign, specifically knowing that smart growth was going to be important. Phoenix and Tucson are the two highest indicators with the highest index of air pollution during the summer months in the country. And so it's not, it hasn't been addressed. It's not an issue that happened overnight, but it takes that leadership to bring folks together to think about the smart investments that we need to take.
Marco, question. This is John Thompson.
We're hearing some background noise, so if you can mute yourself. And if you're muted and you want to ask a question, you simply have to hold down your space bar. So it would be okay to just stay muted until you want to ask a question. Go ahead, Marco.
And sometimes when you're speaking, I can't identify, I can't see you in the screen, so I apologize if I miss your name.
Marco, this is John Thompson, and you're not
Hey,
missing
John.
anything by not being able to see me. Don't worry about that. You've obviously you're running in a very red district. I'm curious just about your specific plans for dealing with your expected opponent.
Yeah, so look, you mean Carrie Lake?
Yes, sorry, I got back on mute again.
So look, I think that what has worked for the Republican Party year over year, election over election, is this notion of hate and fear, divisiveness. And she's running that same trap. She's running that same play. And so I'll give you the experience that I've lived. When I was serving as Chief of Staff of Customs and Border Protection, every morning at 7 in the morning, I would have my intelligence briefing, and it was all my briefers, the CIA, the Department of Defense, all of the command staff, telling me all of the issues that occurred overnight that I needed to address. Big issues. Issues that if we were playing defense on any of them, it was not going to be a good day for America. Something was going to go wrong. And so we needed to tackle that first. And so that's the experience that I bring here as a Democrat in this state, where we have to bring to our side enough independents and moderate Republicans that are fed up with this fear mongering, hate, and divisiveness. But we've got to play offense. No more defense. We've got to play offense with the ideas and our beliefs of what makes families work in our state. Why people will continue to move here, to retire, to enjoy the outdoors, to make sure that they have quality jobs and schools for their kids. That's the Arizona that we all believe in. Sadly, to get elected and to continue to toe that Trump line, they have to play that game. That's the only game they know how to win at. It's divisiveness. And so I think more and more people, Tom, are fed up with that kind of politics in our country and in our state. I see it every day. I make a lot of calls, hundreds of calls every single day. And I know that people are tired of that. So it's the three things that make me the preferred candidate to take on that. One, it's my executive experience. I'm the only candidate that has led and has been executive in this local, state, and federal government level. I'm the only candidate that has created thousands of jobs in our state. I'm the only candidate that has border security experience to take on Kari Lake and her nonsense with the border wall, that can actually push forward, push on offense instead of playing defense and having to answer an issue that no other candidate knows as much about on. So I think those are the things that make me uniquely qualified to take on Kari Lake head on without blinking. And finally, it's building that coalition. Who can build a coalition that helped President Biden win by a slim margin, 10,453 votes? And it's building a coalition with Latinos, rural district voters, like all of us on this call today, Native Americans, and making sure that the tribes, the 22 tribes in 15 counties, feel included and part of our conversation. That's the winning strategy. That's how we win. But it takes all of us. It takes all of us. It's not about me. It's about all of us working together towards that goal.
Thank you.
Marco, if I could ask you a question
Yes, Mike.
about, yeah, thank you, about education in the state, and especially, you know, it's all about inadequate funding of traditional district schools. We have a particularly severe issue in rural Arizona with regards to funding.
Yeah.
You know, how are we going to address this? And by the way, I'm running for AZ Senate for LD1.
Oh,
Very curious as to what you have to say about this.
well, thanks for your service and thanks for jumping in. So Mike, look, I think we have to reimagine our education system. Yes, it's about making sure that we're paying teachers an adequate salary. It's about reducing class size, and it's about giving kids the tools to succeed in our classrooms. Sadly, today we have over 2,000 classrooms without a qualified teacher. And it's because of how we treat our teachers, how we've treated as a state our education professionals. So I look at this as an 8-year trajectory. By the end of the 8th year, I want to make sure that every child in Arizona graduates dual credentialed, that regardless of which one of the 228 school districts that we have in Arizona today, every child has the access to graduate with a bachelor's degree or with their associate's degree and their high school diploma in one of the areas that we know our economy is going to grow in. So hospitality, healthcare, and technologies, because that's what we should be able to attract, but we need the qualified skilled workforce to do it. And then finally, that we're investing in pre-K and in early childhood development. So by the time that a child gets to kindergarten, there's not this disparity gap. But we have, and so how we get there is funding our school districts adequately, regardless of where folks live, in rural Arizona, in native Arizona, or in our urban core. We have the money. It's an issue of priorities. This
Exactly.
governor has cut taxes every single year instead of dedicating those resources to our school system. I'm a product of public school. It works. It works when it's properly funded, when you have teachers proud to teach again, and when you're investing in them with the tools to be able to partake quality classroom time with our students. Today, we don't. But we also have seen, because of the pandemic, a deterioration in how much we respect our teachers. We've got to build that respect back. None of this political fighting, because the ones that hurt are those kids. Enough of it.
If I could follow up real quickly, you mentioned this term adequate funding. Everyone talks about that, adequate, inadequate. And then the question comes up, well, how do we know what adequate funding is? And I think that's a legitimate question. A lot of other states in the union have actually addressed that directly. Any notion, any ideas about, how can we determine what an adequate level of funding is for our kids here in the state of Arizona?
Well, it's about outcomes. Look, it shouldn't be that you tag a child with a number and think that it's going to work universally, that it's $10,000 or it's $7,320. I don't think that that's the right measure. It's outcome. Are our kids learning everywhere in our state? The other piece that I forgot to mention was vocational training. So as I think about our state economy, trades are going to continue to be important, except we don't value them. We don't teach them. We don't invest in them in our schools. So that's going to change. We got to invest in vocational training, in apprenticeships, and in certifications, because the university worked for me. I mean, some agree with that, but it's not going to work for everyone. It's not the right tool for everyone. And so we've got to invest in those trades. And with me, this is one of my priorities.
Okay, thank you. I saw Linda Scott's hand up and then Gloria.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Alex. Thank you so much or Marco, thank you so much for being here. My question was around public education, so I think you answered most of my questions. I'm very concerned about the state of public education in Arizona. It's appalling. And the other thing that I'd like to hear you talk about is it creates citizens that are knowledgeable so that we need to have an informed citizenry. Our form of government depends on it.
Very true. Look, I was the winning class in Nogales that won our civics competition, and it took us all the way to DC to argue. It was a program called We the People, the Citizen, and the Constitution that was being taught I graduated in 1996 from high school, but it was being taught our junior and senior year in high school. And so it's that value of understanding how precious our democracy, our country, our representative republic is, and teaching it. I think we've lost that. And so if we don't come back to some of that civics education, Linda, we will continue to be at a deficit with people not valuing how precious really this country is compared to the rest of the world.
Thank you, Marco.
Thank you, Linda.
Gloria?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to education.
Yes, Gloria.
My husband is a special ed teacher in Yavapai County. I sub there. What I've noticed is that children with behavioral issues do not have adequate localized psychiatric mental health care. They have to go to Phoenix, and families from Cottonwood are not driving down to Phoenix on a regular basis for mental health care for their children. So these children are basically not treated, and the behavior is showing up in schools. So I'm wondering if there is something that you can say or address to the need for children of special needs.
Yeah, so look, this is one of the problems that we tie the same dollar amount to every child. And it leaves counselors and additional resource personnel sometimes underfunded in various school districts, which is supposed to be the issue that is addressed with this voucher system that has been taken advantage of by people with means instead of targeting the type of children that you're speaking about. And so Gloria, so we have to go back to that basic understanding, especially post-COVID. There's going to be a lot of challenges with our kids coming back to a classroom learning environment over the last 18 months that they didn't develop that skill, that socialization skill that is very valuable and important in their development as young adults, as children. And so we have to reinvest in that. And this is why I'm part of the reform is how we work the formula, not on outcomes and the services required in each one of our school districts. So it might not be in every school, but each school district needs to have access to qualified counselors and mental health professionals with that training, so that we can get exactly to that population. Because I am concerned that post-COVID, that number is just going to grow, Gloria, and funding it universally, tying it every dollar amount the same way throughout the state has not been the right way of doing it for the last 15 years, let alone from now on into the future. So it is something that I'm considering and I'm including in our educational reform.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. James? I see James has a hand up. James Gravitt.
Yes, thank
Hi,
you
James.
for letting me ask a question there, Kathy. It's nice to see you getting around the state, Marco. I
Hey, thanks,
saw you, I think, in
James.
your first visit to Kingman sometime last summer.
In a while, yeah,
Yeah, it's
with
nice
those
to see.
Confederate flags flying.
So it's nice to see you doing stuff. So I'm pretty involved for a young person, and I think one of the questions that I often get asked across northern Arizona is, how do we get young people to be more involved in politics and run for office? And I have a frank conversation with a lot of people and kind of explain to them how it's difficult when housing costs take up 50% of our take-home pay. And that's before you even have a family, right? So we're talking a lot about education and all of these very important things that are pillars to the structure of our society. But in order to maintain those, we have to continue growing families, continue growing our state. And how, if elected governor, would you plan on tackling our absurd housing crisis, from the exploitation of Airbnbs and VRBOs to vacation rentals that sit empty, 300 out of 356 days a year? Yeah, so what would be your plan there? Because I think that is the issue that's going to run away far past the issues that we currently have with public education, because we can fix the public education. The housing crisis is something that, especially in Sedona and Flagstaff, right, that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, James. So with the help of everyone, when I'm elected governor, this is going to be an issue that we've got to address. We have 180,000 home shortage today in Arizona, and it's part of this crisis of high mortgage and high rents. You're considered to be in an unaffordable market when you're paying over 30% of your income towards either rent or mortgage. And that is a problem not only that we're experiencing in Yavapai, Coconino, Maricopa, or Pima, but it's pretty much in every one of our counties throughout the state of Arizona. And so tools at our disposal. The first is private activity bonds that specifically get targeted by population to the state of Arizona. It's about $200 million a year for the purpose of solving home affordability, building more homes. Instead, this governor has spent that money for the last 4 years, giving it to Intel so that they can lower their bonding rating. And so that's the problem. When you don't have leadership that cares about the issues impacting Arizonans, you get a situation that money that is supposed to be spent to solve the problems like housing, and instead is being given to the private sector so they can get better ratings. You get the situation we have now, James. And so as governor, I'm going to dedicate the entirety of those resources to work with local leaders to build affordable housing options in each one of our counties. Because by the way, that's what the money's supposed to be used for. It just isn't being used that way. So that's number one. Number two is how we use available land from our school districts. One of the fibers of our community that I remember the most is knowing when I was growing up in Nogales, where my teachers lived in my neighborhood, first responders lived in my neighborhood, nurses lived in our neighborhood. Today, folks cannot afford to work in a school and live in the same school district because they're outpriced. And so we've got to work with the state and the school districts to identify vacant and available land and begin to build affordable quality housing for those industries so that we can rebuild that fabric of our community, so that we have options for teachers, counselors, nurses, and first responders to live in those school districts together with the state. That's the commitment that we have, because we have enough vacant land that's available and it's held in public trust, either the state or our school districts, that we can do it. But you have to be creative, James. My only point is those are two areas that we're working on now to put and bring forward as practical solutions to begin cutting down that 180,000 home stock that we don't have today. It's a huge shortage. So until you fix that shortage, prices will remain high. It's supply and demand.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time out to be with us today, Marco. You've given us a lot to think about.
Alan, thank you so much. It's my pleasure. So everyone, I posted my website, marcolopez.com. Help us fill out our nomination petition. There's a link there. And if you can, chip in a few bucks, because this is how we all restore that promise of Arizona that we all love, that we all want other generations to enjoy, so that if they work hard, they have access to good education, they can grow up in an environment that is productive and conducive for healthy families, no matter where we live. Thank you all so much. So please join me in this effort. It means a lot.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see lots of applause on the screen.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. We'll
and in
see.
the summer, especially if you want me to come and visit, I'm always happy to go up there.
And we appreciate the fact that you came to the DORR picnic in the fall. That was great. We appreciate that. So a lot of us.
Thank you. That was a majestic setting right outside looking at those rocks.
It was, but not conducive to conversation like this kind of a setting is. So thank you for being here. All right.
Thank you all very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Next on our program, first of all, let me just say I neglected to mention, because I did not see, that John Thompson has also joined our call. John is running for city council as well. So we've got Brian, we've got Pete, and we've got John Thompson. And thank you for running. We appreciate that from all of you. Next on our program, we will have our 3 LD1 candidates. So Shelley, if you would put all 3 of our candidates on the spotlight, that would be great. It's Mike Fogel, Kathy Ransom, Neil Sinclair. And I think what we'll do is Neil will start off. What they'll do is they'll tell us a little bit about themselves, some background. And once we get to hear their introductions, then we will be free to ask them questions. And we'll just do this more like a panel discussion, since the 3 of them have so much in common right now. So good to see everybody and welcome. Neil? Neil, I believe you're muted.
How's that?
Better.
I'm Neil Sinclair. I'm a husband, father, grandfather. I'm the owner of an art gallery in downtown Prescott. And I'm also known as a solar energy entrepreneur. I've designed commercial and residential solar systems around the world. And now I'm bringing solar power into the field of electric transportation, electric cars, bicycles, solar electric trains for freight and transit. This is the future of transportation. And as the chairman of Cybertran International, I'm leading the development of a zero carbon footprint solar-powered mass transit system, along with the University of California's Partners Advanced Transit and Highways and the United States Department of Energy. I look forward to applying my expertise as an energy professional to give back to our community and to the state of Arizona. A drought and fire threaten the future of Arizona. These environmental crises, made worse by climate change, are part of a global weather pattern that threatens the whole world. The longer it takes us to recognize the root causes of climate change, the more time we're going to lose to address these causes. We are facing a global crisis. Now, Arizona can play an important role in creating a solution, but not until we get a better set of legislative priorities. And that means electing better legislators, those that see the opportunity, as Arizona has an abundance of sunlight. Now, lawmakers who care about Arizona's future would nurture and support a transition to clean energy. Developing sustainable clean energy technologies here in Arizona would help create and attract new businesses. High growth companies in Arizona making products that feed the growing world market in sustainable energy would be great for the Arizona economy. Instead, Arizona Republican legislators are wasting time and money writing bizarre legislation like putting an end to voting by mail, putting cameras in classrooms, and instituting gun training in schools. Education and climate change require urgent action and should be our top priorities. We need better legislators. That's why I am running for the Arizona State House. My vision is to create a better future for us all in this fight for a clean and safe environment and a quality educational system. I am running as a clean election candidate along with my two colleagues in District 1, Mike Fogel for the State Senate and Kathy Ransom for the State House. We are the clean slate for democracy, and we ask for your vote and for your support. Thank you.
Okay, Kath, thanks, Neil. Kathy?
Thanks, Ellen. My name is Kathy Ransom, and I am running for the Arizona State House for Legislative District 1. I am working on my 20th year in Cottonwood because I love the Verde Valley. And I think that the Verde Valley deserves good representation again, which we haven't had since Tom O'Halloran retired from the state Senate back in 2009. I raised a daughter here, so I know how hard it is to raise children in this state, to be a mom in Arizona. I figure if Arizona works for moms, it's working for everybody. What do moms need? Moms need good jobs that pay a living wage. Moms need affordable housing. Moms need to be able to take their small business ideas and grow them, not get bogged down in bureaucracy. As has come up so much in today's discussion, moms need to know that their kids are getting a great education so that they can rest assured that when their children grow up, they can find good jobs right here in Arizona. The state of Arizona needs to do a more plausible job of addressing climate change and its impacts on Arizona in order for this mom to feel more confident in our future. Moms need this state to work for them, not against them. So state websites like the Department of Economic Security and the Department of Revenue need to work quickly and efficiently every day of the month. Moms need to sleep at night, right? And I think if moms can sleep, everybody sleeps better. I'm running to shift the tone and focus of the state legislature because moms are not being served by the current policy positions of our representatives. We found out yesterday that both of our representatives for Legislative District 1 voted against removing the spending cap for public education. That is a vote against children, Who does that? That is a vote against the future of Arizona. I'm almost left speechless, but not quite. I'm running as a clean elections candidate because campaigns spend too much money and candidates have to spend too much time fundraising. Mike and Neil and I want to spend our time advancing the conversation of what is best for Arizona. We want to change the discussion at the legislature and get our legislators focused on helping rural Arizona develop all of our tremendous potential in sustainable ways so that our kids can grow up and raise their families here too. I hope that all of you are inspired to work for change in our legislature and all over our state in the coming year. Arizona has suffered from decades of one-party rule, and I really believe that together we can create a better Arizona, one that works for moms and all of us. We've talked a lot about education here already, but I'm going to introduce our slate expert on the topic, Mike Fogel, who's running for the Senate. Take it away, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. And I certainly can't imagine you being speechless ever on any particular topic. Thanks for that segue. My name is Mike Fogel, and I'm running for the Arizona Senate, LD1. I've lived in Chino Valley for 29 years, where my wife of 42 years and I raised 3 sons. I'm a retired educator, having served as a nationally recognized high school teacher, an award-winning basketball coach, and a results-oriented vice principal and principal. I currently serve on the Chino Valley Unified School District School Board. I am also a small business owner. Throughout my life, I have built a reputation as a bridge builder. And there are 3 particular issues that concern me, excuse me, in the state of Arizona. First of all, education, the economy, and then voting. Our public schools in Yavapai County, unfortunately, have been relegated to the poorest of the poor. Arizona ranks 51st in the US in per pupil funding. And this is nothing new, as we have been battling for that unfortunate bottom for about 30 years. Within the state of Arizona, my district is in the lowest 5% of funding. Prescott Unified, Humboldt Unified, and Mingus Union school districts are in the lowest 12% of funding in this state, the poorest of the poor. This is the result of an outdated funding formula that's got to change. Came about in 1980. We've been hearing a lot about that lately. A systematic defunding of public education for about 40 years. And what bothers me most is the neglect of our LD1 legislators. And our kids and our families deserve better than this. Furthermore, I'm tired of meeting with our legislators who respond to our plight with statements like, well, I understand, I'm sympathetic. My hands are tied by party leadership. This is why we're the poorest of the poor. They're not responding to Yavapai citizens. They're responding to a business elite in Maricopa County. Our kids and families deserve much better than this, and I'm sure you can agree, and we need to change this kind of leadership from this district down in the state, and I call for that change. Now, all the news is not bad. The economy is doing well in Arizona, and we are swimming in tax revenues. We can pour money, as Marco alluded, we can pour money into education that's already there, and we do not have to raise taxes. We just had to change legislative priorities, which Marco said. Now, our economy may be strong, but it's not benefiting everyone. And I'm committed to create an economy that works for everyone, not just the rich. And what I'd like to see happen are some tax breaks and tax reduction for those who need it the most. And I'm talking about the working poor. I'm talking about our essential workers, middle class, small business owners. These are the people that need a financial break to help them with their struggles with the high costs of housing, which was mentioned, education, of course, childcare, and healthcare. And then thirdly, our sacred right to vote, which is implicit in our democracy, has to be protected and needs to be enhanced. Neil mentioned the work done in the legislature trying to eliminate mail-in voting, right? I can imagine that. In fact, how many of you used mail-in voting in the past? Let's see your hands. Yeah, show of hands. And it's been around for 20 years. This kind of stuff is ridiculous. And legislative attempts further to suppress certain groups from voting and also turning over the results. This is what's most dangerous. Turning over the results of elections to a partisan group. These have got to be stopped in their tracks right now. And if those laws already exist, they will be repealed as my first order of business. Finally, we're running, as you have heard, on a clean slate for democracy campaign to remove corruption from politics and to strengthen, not weaken, strengthen our democratic institutions like traditional district public schools and voting. The time now is for us to change the leadership down there. Vote for our slate because we have a hopeful plan that has been created through our shared values, will change your lives, improve your lives, and make Arizona a better place for everyone. Now, just as Marco mentioned, there are some things that we really need your help with, and that is signatures, that is $5 qualifying contributions so that we can pay the administrative fee to get those election funds, public funds to run our campaign. And we certainly need seed money donations and so that we can start to create some of the publications that we need, some of the materials that we need to get our campaign going. So we ask all of you to certainly help us in that respect. And if you go by the DORR office and physically sign and physically give fives, that'll go a long way in us changing the legislature down in Phoenix. So thank you. We'll now open it up to questions.
Very good. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot of applause in the gallery here. Who has
Thank you.
questions for our candidates? Jay, is there anything you wanted to say? Jay Ruby is with us and he is serving as campaign manager for all three of these candidates.
There were a couple questions asked of Marco that I jotted down, and it might be worth hearing what I have to say on some of these. And one in particular, I think was from a gentleman named James, I'm not sure, and that is how to get young people involved in politics. We actually have a young person that's sort of acting as a consultant. He's also a member of our team who is a young person. And I've spent a lot of my time with these young people, having been a teacher, and asked these kinds of questions. And this is what is coming up over and over again. Folks, those of you in charge don't seem to care, especially about the climate in our environment and education. So they want to hear direct plans to affect that, especially higher education in this state. Okay, we need that needs to be part of the overall education program, making it so it's more affordable for people who want to go to college to do so. In fact, there is a state mandate in the Constitution that says it needs to be near as free as possible. It's actually that kind of language. And then the other thing, the climate. I mean, they really want to hear about action that's going to be taken, plans, make sure that there's a world that's going to be around when they're our age, right? So we need to talk about those kinds of issues with young people, and Julian, who I referred to, he says that's what will get young people more politically active. Anything else?
I see Carol Redenbaugh has her hand up. Carol, it looks like you're muted and someone else is not. There we
Okay.
go.
I'm unmuted now.
Okay.
Mike, well, for all
Yes.
of you, just a general statement, and then I have a question for Mike. The general statement is, I've worked the polls often enough to know that most people that walk in there don't know you from anybody else, and all they want to do is mark the boxes for Republicans. And there's going to have to be a great deal of excitement created by the Democrats in the state if we're going to have any hope whatsoever. And I have no idea how to do that, but you need to figure it out. And then Mike, my question for you is, you said 50 were 51st for education funding, and that who are the other two states? Who are the two that are worse than we are? Puerto Rico?
No. The states, including Washington, D.C., that makes 51st. So we're on the bottom. I didn't count the territories. So we are on the bottom of the bottom currently. And right.
For education funding as defined by per student allocation, or?
Yes, per pupil funding, correct. And all of this is coming from a study, the Education Law Center out of New Jersey, who's been in this business for 70 years. Their methodologies are solid in all their research. They've been reporting on these issues for decades and decades. It's an excellent source. Yeah.
Well, I've always had the perception that Arizona is a state of old people who don't have any interest in education. But that the thing that they should realize is that when companies decide whether or not to put their big corporations in Phoenix, they are going to take into consideration education and decide to go somewhere else. That's an area that really needs to be emphasized for the state, and I'm not sure it's been fully used.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I agree 100%. We need to remind all of our citizens that we are all participants in the social contract. And because you're retired and you've raised your families and you've gone off to Arizona to do that retirement, does not absolve you of that responsibility. And we just need to remind people of that. And I've seen a lot of studies that actually surveys, statewide surveys that show that of that population, it's really pretty close, 50-50. Those who understand there's a responsibility, the social contract, and those who just want to take themselves out, want to save tax dollars, et cetera. So the issue is that we have difficulty, I've had difficulty with is sort of organizing those folks who are still believers in public education and to get their voices out there, and that they still need to support public education. But your point is well taken.
Okay, thank you.
Karen, did you have a question? Now you're muted.
Yeah, I think we need to work in our area in the Verde Valley on educating our voters about the people that are the incumbents. Now, we did a pretty good job, I think, in the last few years of putting information out about some of the extreme viewpoints of the Republicans in LD6. But we need to be, let the people who are in the Verde Valley know how extreme these candidates that these Democrats are running against. You heard the mention, it's one of the Republicans in Prescott who wants to mandate gun instruction between 6th and 12th grade in schools. Judy Burgess, who has a decades-long list of being on the extreme and crazy side of Republican activity. I don't know if she's running again. We'll have to see which the Republicans are, but the Republicans over there are not, they're more extreme in some ways than the people we were fighting against with Wendy Rogers and things like that in the past. So we need to be sure to let people know that these people do not represent, let your Republican friends in the Verde Valley, many of whom believe in things like conservation and public education, let them know the Republicans that are now going to be on their ticket are really extreme on a lot of these viewpoints. And we did a pretty good job in the past. We all need to do that and bring it up every time you talk to somebody is a Republican, that these people do not represent them either.
I wanted to mention, sorry, Neil, that I just wanted to clarify a little bit. There are two ways that you can support these candidates. The first, and the one I mentioned because it's critical, is the $5 qualifying donations that they need. But because they're running clean, there is also a lag between when they need money and when the state starts to provide money for them once they get those qualifying donations. And so the other way you can help support these candidates, and Jay Ruby, I believe, put it in the chat, is you can contribute $140. Is that what the seed money limit is? In seed money. That allows them to get their campaign started so they don't have to sit around not able to connect with the voters until they get their money. So Jay put those links in the chat. I do want to also clarify that in order to donate the $5 seed money, you have to, I mean, that's why we have it set up at the office. You cannot do that online. There's a receipt that you have to receive. It's complicated, and the reason it's more complicated for these three candidates is due to redistricting. Because of redistricting, everything needs to be changed on the Secretary of State's website, and that's probably not going to get done before these candidates need their $5 donations. That is why it is so critically important that you go to the office and help these candidates. They really need our support. So go ahead, Neil, sorry.
Jay is waving frantically.
Jay can clarify this. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, there will not be any online petition signing after March 4th. I think Joanna Mendoza put that in the chat earlier. And what this means, like, everybody in Sedona can sign Tom O'Halloran's petition online because he was in their district before. In Prescott, we have to do all of the Tom O'Halloran petitions by paper. It's the reverse in the Verde Valley for the LD candidates and for the qualifying contributions. So what Kathy said, that's why I was waving my hand frantically, because it just needs to be emphasized. You have to go to someone who has those. And the other thing is, if you can take petitions this afternoon from Kathy and qualifying contributions, you can go out and get them from your community and then bring back to the DORR office. That is very helpful. Like, you might know 5 people who would be inspired by this. You can get the qualifying contributions, do one, and for each candidate. So it's like 5 for each candidate. That's like $15 per person to get people in the clean elections. And what you can do online is to make donations. We've had some issues with our site. I think we've got it cleared up. Some people I know have tried to make donations to all 3 candidates and only got through on one. That should be cleared up now. Please let us know if you've had any problems. I'll put our email in the chat. But the seed money donations basically are going to allow us to have a much more robust campaign, and which will translate later into like being able to actually impact the narrative and get ourselves out there so people know that Quang Nguyen wants to monitor teachers in classrooms, like the ultimate communist authoritarian move. We want to make sure people know that Comrade Quang is using communist methods against our students.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, and I've actually started a school in China, and I know what that's like. There was a comment or a question earlier about how to generate excitement around around campaigns. Yeah, and you know, I mean, it is tricky, but one thing's for sure: when we participate in something like that, this with all of you folks, that's our effort to try to create some excitement. Hopefully you've heard something that you can be excited about. Now it needs to be shared. It needs to be talked about by you folks, getting the message out. And we are also going to have a strong presence in the social media. Jay, what's the best way for us to get everyone connected to our Facebook? We actually have to invite you, but into our Facebook.
You can follow Clean Slate. I'll put the links in a second. I'm trying to answer.
Great.
I'll get them there in a second. I'll put our social media links in.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So we're going to rely on a lot of good folks like you to help us generate excitement. I think that one of the issues that we have not spoken much of here, at least today, that's going to become part of our discussion as we move forward is water issues. How hugely important that is to all of us who live in this watershed and the Verde River that comes out of our aquifer and flows down the east side of Mingus Mountain, etc. This concerns us all. It concerns me. If I run out of water on my well, what's going to happen? My property isn't going to be worth a hoot. We need to do work on this and preserve this. That's a nonpartisan issue as far as I'm concerned. I think education's a nonpartisan issue, largely. And so water, quality of life. We need the water preserved, and we want to maintain our quality of life. And so we'll be talking lots more about that in the future.
I just want to say kind of quickly here that the number one focus of our campaign, the Clean Slate for Democracy campaign, number one focus and how the money's going to get spent, whatever we get, it's going to be outreach. It's going to be putting message out to the population in the district. And in doing that, we hope to not just be able to affect our own races, but to be able to support in a positive way the rest of the races that'll be on the ballot statewide. All of those people are voters. And so we think that with enough outreach, we can have a positive impact on the turnout, possibly on getting independents to vote for Democrats, maybe even getting some Republicans to vote for Democrats.
And to that end, if I could mention a rising star in statewide politics, and that's Martin Cazeda, who is going to be running for the state treasurer. He has been in the Senate and he has been battling the battles down there as a Democrat for quite a few years now. And he is a guy that will not turn his cheek when there is obvious a fraud going on with the use of our public funds. And that is going on in education right now, in our charter programs and in our voucher programs. These are techniques that are transferring public funds into private individuals' pockets. It is criminal, and he won't turn his cheek on it and his back on those kinds of issues, and he's going to address these things head on, because we need to be more responsible in how we've been using tax dollars in the state.
And I think Kat Gonzalez has her hand raised for a question.
If I may, shall I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Sure.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, this is a really general question, but my concern is nearly everybody that I meet everywhere, and not just in this state, seem to always be focused on federal elections. They have no idea the magnitude of the impact that our state legislators have on us individually. How do we even begin to tackle that? Thank you. I know it's huge, but there it is.
Kat, I'm going to take this one, guys.
Thank you.
I've been canvassing door to door and since the pandemic started on the phone. And there's been, and I know that probably most of the people on this call have canvassed in some form or another, or they've been sending the postcards. So I really feel like the Democratic Party, we all know that great quote from Will Rogers, "I belong to no organized political party. I'm a Democrat." I think we're finally learning that lesson. We've realized that the Republicans were out strategizing us on every turn, and we needed to get organized. Many people that I have talked to, yes, they feel disenfranchised. They think their vote doesn't count. But you know what? You spend 5 minutes on the phone with them and you tell them, oh, all of these people are making calls. And we've talked to hundreds and thousands of people like you who feel this. And if you all show up at the polls, we can make a change. These votes will count. And you tell them the margins that Felicia French lost by you practically needed a microscope to see the margin by which she lost. We were so close on that. If we can just get a few thousand people out, obviously if we can get one more Democrat or independent to the polls than the Republicans can, guess what? We win. We may spend a month recounting and recounting and recounting, but we still win. I think that the organization is in place here. And when I see all these wonderful, we got 35 people just on this call today. I see all this great interest from all of you who we know are fired up. And then we just make those calls, we send those postcards, and we keep reminding people. And I really think that it can be done. I love to be an underdog, frankly. I'm not afraid to be an underdog. But I really think that this is not an impossible fight that we are fighting. I think it's doable. It's going to be close. But I think it's really doable, especially with all of your help.
Thank you.
To add to that, we got a great campaign manager in Jay, and largely because we're lucky, because he is plugged in. He's an operative statewide. He is plugged into what is going on, this unifying sort of movement, as Kathy alluded to, that's going on in the state within the party. And so he brings the messages back to us. He brings the strategies back to us. With Jay, I feel like we, the three of us, are being well guided, and that the voters need to trust that.
Can I say something? Dusty Chrisman. I don't think underdog is the good vernacular on that. I'm very impressed with all that I've seen, the three of you. Very impressed. And I was impressed with Marco. And, you've given us a real shot in the arm to get out there and canvass. Are you going to be canvassing together or separately?
Well, it's going to be go ahead, Kathy.
All of the above, Dusty. Mike lives out in Chino Valley, Neil lives in Prescott, I live in Cottonwood. So sometimes we will
Yeah.
all get together, and we will also be, we can get more doors knocked and more phone calls made if we're doing these things separately. So we're all going to grab a buddy and canvas where we can, and then encourage people to get on events like this so that they can hear from
Are
all
you going
three
to
of
have
us.
events? And then we can all be together like a picnic or whatever.
And I think Jay's raising his hand because he wants me to remind everyone that we have our official campaign launch at Van Gogh's Ear in Prescott. It's on the courthouse square on the 24th of this month at 6:30 at night. And please come to that. Please bring friends. I'm going to have postcards for that. If you all want to come and pick up some postcards and deliver those to friends in your neighborhood who, maybe they're not true believers and they're not sure that they want to vote for Democrats, but they can come and hear us in person. All three of us will be there February 24th at 6:30 at night at Van Gogh's Ear in Prescott. Jay, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I raised my hand because I wanted to talk about the question of canvassing. We're going to do a lot of different things. And one of our advantages is after we get our seed money, after we get our qualifying contributions, we can focus full time on outreach and rebuilding the Democratic brand, letting people know who Democrats are, but not filtered through Fox News, not filtered through local right-wing media. That can happen through canvassing, that can happen through radio ads. We're going to do a bunch of different things, and we're going to involve you, and we're going to make sure that what we do helps Democrats who are in city council races, school board races, statewide races. And I think it's really important that we remember we are in maybe one of the most important congressional races in the country. What we can do as Democrats is we can think about, because we generally in our platform, we care about each other. If we practice that in our campaigns and care about each other, we're going to be able to synergize and increase the impact of our work to help everyone across our ballot. And I want everybody to practice this. You don't say up and down the ballot, you say across the ballot. Across the ballot. I'm going to do it 3 times like Donald Trump, like repeat, across the ballot. We will help everyone across the ballot.
Across the ballot, Jay.
It's my mesmerizing moment of today.
We're also, just to inform everybody, we're also collaborating with one of the most impressive, I think, movements that has taken place in the state, and that is called Save Our Schools, SOS. Most of you are probably familiar with them. We'll be collaborating with them. They've got an army of volunteers.
We are not collaborating with them, but we support their agenda. That's
Language.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions? I just want to mention, I just learned this morning that the Senate has passed SB 1164, which bans abortions after 15 weeks, period. There is no exception for incest or rape. And what the sponsors of that said they're trying to do is be ready for when the Supreme Court makes Roe v. Wade a state-by-state issue. My blood pressure is going up right now as I talk about this. I suspect a lot of you on the call feel the same way. This is something that, the fight has been happening for 40 plus years, right? And we're at it again. And we have to stand up for a woman's right to privacy. There is no place in a man's life where the state invades their privacy the way that the state wants to do this for women. A man can take Viagra. He can choose not to use a condom. He can rape. Obviously, we're going to try to put a stop to rape, but we all probably also know the statistics on that and how, what percentage of rapes are reported and therefore actually brought to trial. So this is an issue that Democrats have taken on, and we need to carry this banner for women. And it's a national issue, obviously, but in the state of Arizona, apparently we're going to be on the forefront of it. So SB 1164 has passed. It has begun here in Arizona.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy Rutherford.
Yeah, so thank you so much to all the candidates that were here today, to Mike, to Kathy, to Neil, and also to Marco. As you all know, it was such an informative program. Please let people know that weren't able to be here today that they can still watch this later. They can go to our website. You can forward them the email that will be sent out. There's always an email that's sent out directly after. We have to get the word out. That is one of the ways, as Mike said, that we can create excitement around these candidates. Share it with everybody you know. It's really critically important. You might be reading the chat, you might not be, but we are going to be in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which is on March 12th. So it's a little bit before St. Patrick's Day. And we would love you all to be there. We would love the candidates to be there. So please watch for the email that will come out. Kathy Kinsella did put the information in the chat if you want to look there. If you want to stay on for a little while and look through the chat, there's a ton of great information there, all the stuff that Jay put on and other people. So please, please come to our St. Patrick's Day Parade. We want people to know in the Verde Valley that there are a ton of Democrats, right? Really, really important. Kathy Ransom will be at our office today. As soon as she leaves this meeting, she's gonna head over there starting at 12 p.m. Please go in and sign petitions and donate seed money, or not seed money, donate the $5 qualifying contribution. You can pick up things and take it back to your friends, also really important. And please volunteer. I put in the chat, you can, it goes to me, but the email is volunteer@democratsoftheredrocks.org. We need everybody on board. We need everybody helping out. As was said earlier, Tom O'Halloran is going to have a tougher race than he's had before, and it's a critical race. We need to get out there. We need to talk to every single possible person that might possibly vote Democrat this year. It's a critical year as usual. And if you're, hopefully we're all fired up, as Kathy was talking about what's happening in our state legislature. If you're interested in getting involved in that, you can email actioncommittee@democratsoftheredrocks.org. And you can either do it electronically with requests to speak, or it sounds like there's going to be some things that come up that we need to go down the state legislature and actually testify about. So please get involved. You know, that's the key thing, is that, yeah, we have a big fight on our hands, but the fight becomes smaller for each of us if we're all involved. So I wish you all a wonderful Thursday, and we'll see you next month. Please look for our emails that come out and read all the way to the bottom. There's good stuff at the bottom too. Okay, bye everyone, take care.